This is Jack Alpha Charts with a stocks to watch video for super follows. Today is June 3rd, 2023. Before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security. Now, I may hold positions in some of the equities mentioned. Know your time frame and risk tolerances. Okay, so this is actually made for the super files, but I am sharing it with everybody today because I'm going to be taking a few days off and don't really have time to make two videos, so I figured this will be a good way to just kind of showcase what I do in my for my super files and what makes this stocks watch different than the one I produce in for the general people, right? So a couple things for my super files. Just so you know, I'm going on vacation, so I'm going to do all my Saturday Sunday work today on Saturday and release it all today, and then I may or may not do that midweek video on Tuesday because I'll be on vacation. But by Thursday night, I should be back, and everything else will resume as normal at that point. Okay. If you're not a super follow yet, let me let you know what kind of what I have to offer real quick, and then we'll get into the big video. It's an educational service, right? So I'm going to produce ideas for y'all. I'm going to try to keep you on the right side of the market, and the best names possible. And you know what? Put the brakes on, or at least try to feel like where the brakes should be pushed on and things are maybe questionable, and where we should be hitting the gas, right? And then knowing the difference when to hit gas and when to hit the brakes is really one of the most important things we can do in the market. It's built for everybody, but especially built for people who work full time and just can't watch the market as much as they want to, right? This way, you have another point of view that kind of reviews everything and looks everything over. So what do? We give you, the special stocks to watch, which is on Sundays. I do a Sunday market note. I also do a special focus list video on Sunday. So let's say you don't want to watch the longer stocks to watch video, which could be, 50 minutes or so or an hour long potentially. I make a 5 to 10 minute, like just the best ideas I can find for the week, ETF wise, and also in individual names, right? So 5 to 7 individual names, usually 2 or 3 ETFs, and we go from there, right? That's a short video. It's how you want to consume it. Every night I do scanning that I produce. On Tuesdays, I do a midweek video that I produce just for my super follows. On Thursday, I do another market note for my subscribers. Again, I share my scans every night, and then throughout the week, I have commentary and my thoughts on the market just in general. I'll tweet just whatever I'm seeing that looks really interesting. I'll never tell you what to buy. I'll never tell you when to sell. But most of my people will DM me or ask me, hey, look at this chart. What do you think? And I'll give my opinion on the chart. You may agree with it. You may disagree with it. That's okay. But it's just another person's opinion. And as a super file, you get that. It's all for $10 a month. I mean, I think it's a heck of a deal. If you are interested, go to my profile at AlphaCharts365 on Twitter, hit subscribe, and become a super follow. And again, this video is one I make just for the super follows usually, but again, you'll get an idea of what they look like and how they differ from the regular stocks to watch videos. All right, so let's get started. Enough about that. All right, so first part of this video will be a market overview. The second part will be some leading sectors. And then the third part will be idea generation. And I'm going to do a fourth part with specific to the AI theme, because I think the AI theme is something that we all should be paying attention to. Okay. I think it's here to stay. And listen, it may be a fad. It may be a bubble. And at one point, the internet was a bubble, but it made a lot of money on the way up. If we had proper risk management, you were able to keep most of that money, right? And it's produced a lot of money after the bubble as well. So I don't care if it's a bubble or not, to be honest. But let's get going. SPX. All right, we had a great day. This is good strength. There's nothing negative that we can say about this type of move. It looks good, and we have places to manage risk now, right? Is it extended? Yeah, it's a little bit extended. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some backing and filling next week, just because of how extended it is from moving averages. But that's okay. That will give us time to get good entries, which is the most important thing that we could do in this market, right? Is get good entries. And more impressive was what the equal weights did, right? Look how it sliced through all of its moving averages. No, these aren't, basically, they're not aligned bullishly yet. And so bottoms are processes, and on the equal weight, this probably will be a process of some sort. But I think that we've probably started that process, right? We have a low here, we have a higher low here, and we have now these moving averages that are all clumped together, and we'll see, but hopefully they'll provide some support. We looked at the ratio, RSP versus SPX. We'll look at that real quick. And again, I think that this was a constructive first day. Now, one day does not make a trend. I get it, but we don't need to see RSP outperforming every day. But I'd like to see a sideways movement, and I think that that would give us more conviction. Looking at the Qs, nice little kind of 3-day consolidation type area right here, and they went out not all-time highs, but multi-year highs, right? It hasn't been this high since 22. So 1-year highs, we'll call it 1-year highs. But again, is it getting extended? Yeah, this is kind of extended, but it's a beautiful trend that's really developing here, right? So we can't really talk too bad about it, right? Because a trend is a trend. And looking at the equal weights, again, we broke above 74, and that was, for me, the important area. QQQ equal weight above 74, and I think that this has legs to it, right? That was, you can see resistance, kind of resistance in here, and then boom. And I'll be honest, I thought this was going to be resistance again, and we'd get a bigger pullback, and it just didn't happen. Shows the strength of the market, and I think it's here. So when we talk about, let's go to IWM real fast, and then I'll make my final commentary on the general indexes. Again, we do trade a market of stocks, but here's your IWM, and this was this consolidation that really couldn't get anything going, and then kabooly, right? I mean, just a gigantic 3.63 day on nice volume. So again, one day does not make a trend, but I think that we're seeing breakouts where we probably should have been seeing breakdowns. That tells me the strength of the market. And 3 or 4 times a year, we get nice big bursts in the market, and everything else is basically consolidation. I think we've entered one of those bursts. Now, I could be wrong. Listen, Monday could come through and the whole market falls apart, and what do I know, right? But based on the chart as of today, and the charts that, the index charts we just went through, if you want more in depth, you can look at my stocks to watch. I'm sorry, the state of the market that I produced earlier today, and it goes into intermarket analysis. But just from these index charts, I think that we've entered that next burst, which means that we could be a little bit more aggressive with our longs, because I think the market's going to be on our side for a period of time. How long that lasts, I don't know. Maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. Maybe there's a new 5-year bull market, 10-year bull market, right? But we won't know that till after the fact. So that's why we manage risk along the way and all that stuff. Right? You guys know this. We can't see the future, but what we can do is we can get a little bit more aggressive when things are looking good, and then we pull it back when things are looking not as good. I think things are looking good. So what is looking good? And I think it's going to be it's technology, right? I think by far technology is the way to go. When we look at on an absolute basis, maybe when it gets up to 176, maybe it runs into some problems, prior highs, all-time highs. Not that far away. Nice little consolidation right here. Everything's looking great. It may need to flag out a little bit, but I think we get up here, and then we'll see what happens, right? But look at this base. Like, if this, does this look like a bottom, or does this look like a top? This looks like a bottom to me, as of for now, right? A gigantic 2-year in the making bottom. It's a beautiful thing. And if we look at XOK versus the SPX, there it is, and quick little line chart, and you can see how really XOK versus the SPX XOK is absolutely leading, and really has been leading since the beginning of the year, right? So that being said, XOK is a place to look at, right? And where are we gonna look at? We're gonna look at SMH. semiconductors, by far one of the most important sectors, and I think investable sectors as well, right? And so that's important too, because I may not, financials are important, but I'm probably not buying too many financials. But semiconductors are super important. They're leading, and they look absolutely phenomenal, right? Nice little consolidation happening here, and it's letting these moving averages catch up a little bit, and everything looks really good in semiconductor world. That's the SMH, which is the cap weighted. XSD is the equal weighted. Looks equally as good. I think maybe actually the cap weighted looks a little bit better. And I'm going to actually move this up here. I don't mean to do that. I meant to, come on. There we go. All right. I'm going to do this up here like this and just adjust it. And I think this is, maybe the next area that it's going to just need to consolidate a little bit here. But again, this is the equal weighted going up. So NVIDIA has the same weighting as everything else in this equal weighted one, which is really important. So but yeah, so SMH cap weighted already broke out. Like, it looks great. Again, that's the NVIDIA effect. What else do we have? Software. So let's look at PSJ, right? This is the Invesco Dynamic Software ETF. And you can see that this is really starting to look good. We have this kind of basing action here, trying to break out. We have this 200-day, which is flat right now, but it's going to start to turn up really soon. Moving averages aligning bullishly. Everything looks good. I think software is a place to be. When we look at PSJ versus the SPX, overall, you see how it's got a very similar base here. And I think that we're going to see the software sector really take off. What else do we have? We have ROBO, right? ROBO has been a big one. So ROBO is one that, again, my super followers have known we've been watching now. And it was one of the ETFs I put on for last week. And you see it had this little base, and boom, Friday it popped out really nicely right over here. And congratulations to anybody that's in it. I think it makes sense, robotics and automation ETF. What else? There's a new one, Think. Now this one is a little bit thin, so I don't really look at this one as one that I want to buy per se, right? Because it's only trading 37,000 shares, right? It's a very thin ETF. But look at the amount of volume that's increased compared to here, right? So this makes me, there's some really big interest in this particular ETF right now. And this is artificial intelligence, right? Robotics and artificial intelligence ETF. And you can see how this one really has now broken out, right? So it's an important ETF, but it's not one that I may invest in, but I can look under the surface, and I got a lot of the AI names that I'm going to show at the end off of this particular ETF, right? As I dug in deep to it. So we'll get those at the end. But those are the 4 ETFs, right, that I'm really looking at. I'm looking at semiconductors, I'm looking at software, I'm looking at robotics, and I'm looking at artificial intelligence, right? Now, Robo is a little bit unique because they have a lot of international stocks in that particular ETF. So that's a way to get exposure to international stocks without having to have the risk, of owning one. Or you may not even have the ability to buy some of these stocks unless you buy it through the ETF. So just a thought. Okay. So, excuse me. So that was part 2. Part 3 is going to be individual idea generation, right? So these are individual names that may or may not be ready, but they either need to be on a watch list or a focus list, I think. And it is going to be, you're going to see it's going to be very heavy in this, in the sectors we talked about, so let's get going. All right. So first off, I just saw IoT pop yesterday. Holy smokes. So this was up, what was it up? 27, almost 28% yesterday, right? And just looks unbelievable. Great volume showing up here, it was on earnings. So I wasn't in this one, and really, why would I be, right? Because the day before earnings, it was underneath all those moving averages, and it was just kind of not doing much. And then kablooey, right? So if you weren't in this already, then now we have to wait. And so what am I waiting for? Maybe a couple inside days, maybe a little pullback, right? maybe a little pullback into this breakout area, right? Let these moving averages catch up. So it may take a week or two, right? This is more of a longer term, like maybe not this week, maybe next week. But hey, if you say it breaks above 25 and I want to enter it and I want to put myself at 25, I can respect that if you think it's gonna be a big mover, right? But you have to have your plan and you have to have the entry that you could live with, right? I would definitely play small if you try something like that because it could come right back on just because it's so extended. But you never know, right? You never know. But IoT, definitely renewed interest in this name. I was in it before, and now I probably want to be in it again. What else? Uber is looking pretty good. So here's Uber. And let's just go ahead and kind of zoom out just a little bit. Let's go to a weekly chart in Uber, right? So here's Uber on the weekly. And it's kind of made this space. And you can see the higher lows very clearly, right? Very clearly, higher lows. There's your breakout here. And now it's kind of just gone sideways a little bit, but now it's trying to move higher. And you can see this little flag right there. And it kind of broke the flag and moved up. Decent volume, nothing to write home about, but decent volume. So Uber's looking pretty good above this, I think, green shaded area. We'll call it 37-ish. What else? I'm going to go a little bit fast with these because, again, it's just idea generation. One of these or multiples of these will speak to you. And that's the most important thing, right? I'm going to offer it to you. And whichever one you think looks right, you're going to go with those, right? So here's DraftKings. You see this area right here has held now a couple of times as support, which I love. 23-day rising is now, right? It's a great place to put your stop because you see it has not violated in a while. And look at, I love how there is literally no selling here. There's no selling here, right? You see how it just declines in these big green skyscrapers. That's very, very, I think a very positive type of price action. So DraftKings looks really good, trying to move higher out of here, reasonably actionable. Snow. So Snow is still, I think, in this basing mode, but earnings are out of the way, and it is really trying to break out. You see the sellers did step in there, but it makes sense. It just ran 29% in just over a week, right? So now it needs to relax. Maybe it closes this gap, right? Let's these moving averages catch up. Let's the 50 cross the 200, gets a little bit of energy, right? So we get a little more pullback maybe early next week, right? After this great week. And then we get the breakout, right? That's where I'm interested in this particular name. So it's a watch list name, right? But it's got a lot of stuff going for it. And the other thing that I really like about this name, so off of earnings, it dropped 16.5%. Terrible, right? But then the buyers just literally ate this up and on good volume. So they saw this as a bargain, right? That's what they saw this as. This was a bargain. So somebody loaded up a little bit more on this name as it came into this overhead supply here, let it come back, and then potentially take it out, right? CFLT is next. This one I've wanted to be in now for a while, and I missed my opportunity right here. This really was the spot right in here. I missed it, and it's literally gone straight up since. So I'm watching it way extended. Not for me right now, but I want to be involved in this name, I think, sooner than later. So a couple of thoughts that's just coming through right now is that, first off, I love to see these extended names. And so they may not be actionable this second, but it just shows you the force of the market that are pushing these higher. We haven't seen this in a very long time. And I think that is one of the things that makes me super excited about this next at least few weeks, if not longer, is that we're seeing things get too extended where we're getting locked out of them. And that's a good thing, right? That's showing us the power behind the markets. And that's nice. The other thing that I've noticed, and I think a lot of my super followers have noticed, is as I'm sharing my scans, I'm making comments every night about them. And we're starting to see those scans become more and more robust, better and better names, consistently the same name sometimes, but again, it's expanding, more showing up on the scan. And that again is a show of how strong the market is. We use those scans, at least I use those scans as a measure of breadth and market health. It's a little bit subjective, obviously, but I've been doing this long enough where I can use my experience in that and say, okay, looks really healthy. Ooh, this is not looking healthy, type of stuff. So just a couple ideas about these extended ones. CFLT, love the name. IoT, love the name. Just a little bit too far extended. But we got to watch those, right? Here's ARI. Now, this is an interesting one. So ARI does solar, right? They do solar type stuff. And this was a name that I've been watching, and it's made this little flag right into the moving averages, and now it just popped this. So a very actionable name. Again, is there overhead supply here? There may be, right? There may be. I don't know. But I love how it went up, consolidated, let the moving averages catch up, and moved higher. That's all I really need, right? Now we manage risk. Let's say you got into this, let's say at 23.76, right? And your stop is at $22 or something like that. Your risk is, what's your risk there? It's a little bit more than I would have liked, 7 to 8, 7.5% or so, right? So, again, you do half of size or something like that. I try to keep my risk closer to like a 3%. So if I was into this name, I'd probably put the low of the day just because that's where I'd want to be until the 23-day got above that point. Then I would use the 23-day as my trailing stop if I was going to enter this name. But again, it looks really, really good. Had 2 solid back-to-back days on good volume, and you see the 23 held the whole way. So love that. Again, that's a solar name. DOCN, DigitalOcean. Here's another one, got just extended, like awesome, right? Broke out of this, again, general area. And so what am I looking for? It's got to kind of go sideways or backwards. Ideally, it's going to hold 39.50, right? Retest it. And again, it doesn't have to retest in one day. It may take 2 or 3 days. It could go up a little bit more, then come back and retest. But ultimately, these moving averages need to catch up. And this 200-day needs to stop declining and needs to start to flatten and move higher. Overall, though, it's a great looking name. Really just shaping up nice as long as this 39.50 area holds. DigitalOcean. Next up is PCOR. I got a lot of names for you today. Hang in there. Put me on 1.25 speed if you need to, but it's worth it. Here's PCOR, which is Procore Technologies. I believe it's also a software name. Again, it's making its base. It looks really good. Decent amount of accumulation shown up here. Moving averages are starting to align bullishly, and it's looking to break out. What more do we want? Also, above the VWAP from the IPO, not a SPAC. You'll see I don't really have that many SPACs on my lists. I tend to avoid them because they're not the strongest names in the market, period. Again, low, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, right along the way. Next up is Frog. This is JFrog Limited. Again, it may have some areas up here to worry about, but we're not there right now. We're here, and it kind of jumped up here sideways, broke out, came back. Nice little flag. I love these flags that you see that try to go lower and buyer showed up. Try to go lower, buyer showed up. Great looking flag right here. That's one that is solid, absolutely solid. And so yeah, I would definitely watch this, and I think it could at least get this 27.50 area, something like that. And we'll see what happens, right? No one really knows what can happen at that point. But decent little look name right there. Sprinkler, which is CXM. All right, so Sprinkler has earnings coming up on the 5th, right? So that's Monday. So there's no way I would be in this name, before earnings, unless I had a good cushion. But it has this beautiful little area you could actually throw on, this little type of thing. And listen, I don't know if it's going to gap up or gap down on Monday. No idea, right? After earnings. But I do know there's your VWAP from the IPO, and you see prices basically right there, and moving averages are aligned bullishly, and we have Monday morning earnings. Great amount of accumulation showing up in this name though. So that is definitely a positive. We'll see what happens. Keep it on the watch list. DV, double verify. Again, way extended, right? So here's a lot of names I'm giving you. Many are extended, but when we really look at it, that's what we want to see, right? We want to see names that we have a hard time getting into. And so now it's extended, and what am I looking for here? Just like a little sideways movement, right? Maybe a little just a fade back in, let the moving averages again catch up. That's important. I do like that the 200 days already rising. That's very nice. Next up will be NXT, another solar name. So NXT is a brand new name, right? Just came on the market, was February. And so it had this beautiful run, kind of this little consolidation, and was it a flag? Maybe it was just flat base or something, right? But now it's trying to move higher, and it's closed at all-time highs in its short life. And right now, I think everything is looking pretty good with this, right? You can, again, it's a newer name, not the thinnest of names, but not a huge, millions of shares traded, and so, I'd probably manage risk against the low of the day. Maybe use the shorter term, the 9-day EMA, because it's a more volatile name, instead of the 23-day, right? So that's how we make little adjustments. Okay, it's more volatile. I'll take a half position, and I'm going to manage risk versus the 9-day EMA. Take a half position or quarter position, and I'm going to go against the 23-day until I understand, the way this really moves, right? Because every stock kind of moves a little bit differently. But it's a good looking name, all-time highs. Not many stocks can say that. Next up will be Duolingo. By the way, I still have my full month. My first month streak is finished. So I'm supporting this name, and it is just kind of just flagging right here, right? It's a nice look to it. When we say you bought it, say right around here, 6-7% there. So maybe half position, unless it came back in a little bit or let these moving averages catch up. But it's starting to show that trend look to it, which is very, very nice, right? I think can it get it back up to all-time highs, which is 204? Why not? Right? 200? Why can't it get to that 190 to 200 area? Nothing here says it can't. So that's Duolingo. Next up is Shockwave in the medical devices, and nice little consolidation, kind of like an inverse head and shoulders ish, right? And so after we had the nice we had this kind of nice move up here, and now we're just kind of flagging. So you could call this a cup and handle, right? You can look at this side and call this an inverse head and shoulders, whatever you want to call it. Kind of has a cup and handle look to it. But I think this is, pretty, 300 level, right? Above 300, we could be involved in this. Below 300, I don't know if I want to be involved in this particular name, but above 300, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, this app loving. I love the double gap here, right? Double gap, love that. And look how it's holding this gap nice and tight, and tight price action. That is one of the things that we're noticing more and more now too. See how nice and tight this price action is? That's good to see. Very easy to manage risk in this name. I'd probably use the VWAP from this gap right here until moving averages catch up. That would be fine with me. Probably a smaller position, and unless we broke out. Then if it breaks out, you just add to that position. Nothing wrong with that either, right? A lot of times I'll go for an early buy, right? In a quarter position, maybe half position in the consolidation, with the idea of adding more to it in the breakout. And if it doesn't break out and it falls apart, then I only had a quarter to a half position, and it didn't really hurt me very much either. So it gives me a little lets me be involved, makes me watch it some more, and it gives me, if it does break out, I have a much better entry price. All right. Next, this is Cloudflare. Again, way extended. Cloudflare just ran top to bottom, 81%, in 17 days. That's 3.5 weeks, right? So actually about maybe 4 weeks. I didn't go all the way to there. 20 bars, right? So 4 weeks. So it almost doubled in 4 weeks. It's extended, but that's pretty strong. And now came up to this area supply. So we have to expect this to pull back. Doesn't mean it's a broken stock. It means we need to watch for how it pulls back. Does it pull back in an organized fashion, or does it fall apart, right? If it pulls back in an organized fashion into the moving averages, well then, I'm looking to be involved in this name, right? If it falls apart, I want nothing to do with it. So again, we just got to watch it. Next up is path, which is UE path. I mean, top to bottom, when we really look at this name, again, I want to see the strength that we just witnessed. 60% top to bottom, right? Last 4 weeks had earnings, kind of fell apart on earnings, similar way to Snow. Let me just try to get this over. There you go. Down 11%. And then look what happened. The buyers literally stepped right back in. It broke out. Like I was expecting it to come back in here. It kind of broke out. So it came back in here. That's fine. I still think it needs some consolidation. Let these moving averages catch up. We'd love to see it hold $18, right? Let it do whatever it wants to do above this $18 mark. And then when it starts to move higher, that's the time to be involved. Good looking name, though. Palantir. Another one, just crazy extended, right? That's what we're looking for, though. Just went up 100%. 100% in the last 4 weeks. 100%. Crazy. Doubled in price. And look at the volume coming in. Super strong. Some people say it's an AI play. It may or may not be an AI play, but it does look super strong. And now it's kind of consolidating, which it needs to do. And letting the moving averages catch up, right? Potential area of supply up here around 17.5, which happens to be right around the VWAP from the IPO. So definitely something to watch at that point. But if we get a little bit more pullback, we could potentially play from this, about $14 up to 17.20-ish. That's not a bad gain, right? We'll take that gain. Why not? Next up will be MNDY, Monday.com. I don't even know what they do. But what I do know is that, and I can actually move this up here really, that it's kind of completing this base. I want to give you the whole chart here. This is from the IPO. Let's throw a VWAP from the IPO on there. And it's above the VWAP from the IPO. And just kind of zooming in, we could see this beautiful, just gigantic bars, right? Almost 17% there. Again, look at this little flag right here in the tight price action, right? That is a thing of beauty right there. Moving averages caught up and it moves higher. So one more day down, I would say you get this, 169, something like that. That's a place you could pretty much manage risks nicely against that spot, right? So this is MNDY, Monday.com, FRSH. So here's, again, a newer name. Let's throw a VWAP on there. Oh, it's in purple. I'm going to change it to yellow. Easier to see. But starting to make that turn, starting to get, zooming in here, you're getting the 50 crossing the 200, starting at the bullish alignment. You can, look for a breakout from this smaller level here, right? The smaller level right here looks like it's just a nice little consolidation. Get above 1590 or so. This can go up to maybe $20 or something, right? That's a nice gain, right? It's a 30% gain. So not bad at all. All right. So what else are we looking for? Marvel Technologies. Okay, we're going some semiconductors now. And here's Marvel Technologies. And this is, as you can see, it had a nice big gap up. And now it is just kind of consolidating and just, consolidating its gains right here. Nice little like flag type action, whatever you want to call this. And it's nice. It needs some more time, I think, but I think semiconductors are the place to be. So Marvel is one of them again, and that's again partly the AI theme as well, right? Because that was a big deal. AMD, big up, consolidation. That's good to see, right? And it's consolidating right where it's supposed to, by the way. Like this is where supply was supposed to be after it ran 60%. So now the base is maybe complete and a breakout, and we could go much, much higher. So there's AMD. I think this one is, if you see, it's not even touching the 23. So you get anywhere close to this, 9-day. I think that's a win. And I like to, the 9 to the 23 is about 7%. And it's going to be closing pretty quickly, that gap right there. So close your risk. Also, notice the decrease in volume as it's pulling back. Very, very nice. NVDA, the big boy. See, I mean, it is just being supported like crazy. Anything over 400, and I think I'd manage risk against the VWAP and call it a day, right? These moving averages still need to catch up. It's there's a dividend coming up that could play a role in it. Probably not. People aren't in NVIDIA for the dividend. Let's be honest, right? But again, near all-time, is that all-time highs? Yeah, at all-time highs. You see this, we talked about NVIDIA in the past with the super follows. But it looks, again, strong name, amazing volume showing up. Rambus, again, these are all semiconductors in the semiconductor theme. Looks exactly the same, right? The 9-day has been, the place to buy in general. Looks pretty good. Again, is it extended? Absolutely. Does it need more time? It may need another week. What do I know, right? May need another week. But if you want to be in this name, it may also not give you too many chances to enter it. So that's what you have to, and no one says you have to enter it like with 150% of a position, right? You could enter it with a quarter, half position and build your position over time as it works and acts well for you. CDNS, Cadence Design, again, nice big move higher, nice flag showing up. Here comes the moving averages. That's what I'm looking for on semiconductors. Look at this. Oh, so beautiful. Right? Trying to break out. Hasn't yet, right? Hasn't really broken out yet. There's your moving averages coming up. I mean, it looks really nice. Here's on semiconductors. Oh, beautiful name. And decent amount of accumulation too. What else? Okay, so here's one that I almost didn't put on the list, but I feel like I need to. CRDO. And a lot of us got burned on CRDO back here, right? That was terrible. I remember that. That was terrible. And I wasn't in it, by the way, in this particular name. I don't think I was in this name, but it was just horrible. I think there's a short report or something that came out. It doesn't matter. But look how it's bounced back right to this overhead supply. And I don't think that this is the place to buy this name right here. But it does just move, 135% on increasing volume after earnings. But if we can get a pullback and then a breakout, again, I would definitely do a smaller position because of, this scares me a little bit. But that may be something I would consider. I don't know yet. I don't know if this scares me too much. It may, but this is pretty strong on this side. So I want to just mention CRDO and even AEHR, which is, again, doing very, very well. Tag the 200-day, and I thought this thing was a goner. I thought it was done. And look how it just zoomed higher. Look at that, 77% move. Of course, now it's extended. We got to watch for that pullback and for that breakout. Okay. Some other miscellaneous stuff, Flex. So they do, I forgot, I looked this up. But I believe it's in some kind of industrial thing. But you see how they came back, retested this breakout, right? I mean, how beautiful was that retest? Let's go back weekly. This company's been around for a while. So here, this was in 2004, 2018, 2021. It broke out, retested in April, and now it's at all-time highs. Or not all-time, but multi-decade highs. How about that? Right? Not too shabby. So, and the last high was about $44 or so. So that's got some room to the upside if it wants to get there. So this is Flex, and again, good volume showing up in this particular name. And bullshit line moving averages. What more do you really want, right? What else? VRT. I think these are all communication equipment or something. But again, nice little pop and nice hold and consolidation coming into the moving averages. EXAS. Again, find the name that really speaks to you, that looks amazing, right? EXAS. There's your VWAP right there in yellow, and it is just holding this VWAP very nicely now, trying to move higher. And I believe they're in the money services field, I guess is the right word to say. And it's, again, done very, very well. There's your little flag, move higher, so again, this is a name that may be, I mean, it trades a lot of shares, right? 25 million shares. And it's had a lot of volume coming in just after earnings, and it looks really, really strong. ACVA is in the car auction business. Had a nice little move higher, 20%. Again, it's holding it, held this. Moving averages have now caught up, which is nice to see. And now it looks like it wants to move higher, right? Good volume coming in overall. So that's ACVA. And last one is Netflix, NFLX. So this is the end of this third tier, and Netflix going back, right? So let's go back to 2018, and this has been the area of importance. And when we zoom in on this area of importance, you see how it broke out, and now it's just consolidating. Again, may need a little bit of time to consolidate here, but as they crack down on the password sharing, I would expect more and more that it should go higher. That's my expectations. And look how on Friday it went down a little bit, but down on nothing volume. So we like that. So that is idea generation for individual names. And now I'm going to go into a specific theme, the AI theme. And I have a bunch of names that are in the AI theme. Some may surprise you, and some you've seen around. So let's get going. First off is AI, right? This is was it C3.ai, and is a very volatile name. But it is what it is. I mean, it went from right, nothing being traded to literally everything being traded, right? I mean, just gigantic volume in this particular name. I'd be careful with if you wanted to be in this name, because it obviously can, it trades like a penny stock in a lot of ways. So, but overall, I think that if you want to be involved in AI, this is one of the plays. I would just use a smaller position size for this particular name, right? And if it gets, again, below $28 or so, I would start to be real careful with this name. $30, I forgot below this right here, about $30, right around there. Yeah, like why be involved, right? If it can consolidate right there, that'd be interesting. Let's do a VWAP from this nice big gap right there. That was a big move, and you see overhead supply 37.50-ish, we'll call it. But AI, right? Speculative play, period. CCCS was the one I came across. Again, it's not, it's still trading 2 million shares a day, which is nice. It's an $11 stock, and it just ripped to the upside nonstop, 32% in a very short period of time. You see it right there. You see it in the volume right there. Nobody's selling this name. Looks like it may have been a SPAC to start off with, but no one's selling this name. You kind of see it's coming into maybe some supply, but if it gets above 1150, like this one looks really, really nice. That's again CCCS. Next up, Microsoft, right? Some of the big boys have been doing extremely well. And why have they been doing extremely well? It's because of their exposure to AI. It's an AI play, I think. Cloud, AI, they're all interrelated. Now, there is some danger that's coming into overhead supply. So just be careful with that. But if this can, just move sideways a little bit, consolidate and break out, you have a giant corporation that's growing on the its potential business into the AI field, and that makes total sense to me, right? What else is doing that? Google's doing that. I mean, look what Google's done since the AI craze has started. It's been up 40%, right? And now Google looks great because it's just consolidating right here. Look how this tight action in Google right now. Very tight, very nice action in Google, letting the moving averages catch up. Right now, even if you entered it, you're looking at, we'll call it 5%, right? Right now, it's only a 5% spread, which is nice to see. Again, could it roll over? Sure, it could. But it's nice to be in, again, the names that are moving higher. And these are all AI names that have some kind of AI play. Meta. Everyone thought Meta was dead. And Meta said, oh, really? They just, let me go up 210% since November. 210% since November. That is sick for, Facebook, who I don't know anybody that uses Facebook, right? Crazy. So yeah, so it's going up. I mean, it's hard to say where do you want to enter this one, right? But overall, I mean, and it's the AI play. They are deep in with AI. So that's an AI play. NVIDIA, which we talked about earlier, among the other chip makers are AI plays. Amazon is an AI play, 100%. Don't think it's not. You don't need the to be in the AI space, you don't need the biggest speculative company. Sometimes you just need the biggest company that's pivoting because they see what the future is going to look like. And here's Amazon from the lows here, right? Which we're like, uh-oh. And now it's up 52%, right? From December. 52% from basically the beginning of the year. Amazing gains, right? Amazing gains. So good job to Amazon, AI play. Adobe. They're all over the AI thing. Again, and you can see it in the chart. Why do you think it's going straight up like this? AI play. Earnings coming up too, though. Be careful. And the last one I have here is team. Again, straight up here. Wait for the pullback. It's got to be a little bit more, constructive. I do like that it's back above the 200-day again, right? Went right through it, and things are starting to align bullishly. So there's a bunch of AI themed names, and most of them were bigger companies, right? Very few were small companies because those are harder to trade, in my opinion, right? They're going to be more choppy. It's hard to manage risk against them. It's much easier to manage risk in an Apple or in a Microsoft. I mean, we didn't even talk about Apple. I mean, look at Apple right now. Just near all-time highs. Is it at all-time highs or is it just near all-time highs? Yeah, it's basically right at all-time highs, Apple, right? So, may need a little consolidation, but these mega caps had amazing moves and, they may or may not be done yet. So don't be afraid that if you want to be a bigger name, they're part of that new theme of AI. So that's okay too. And so that's kind of what I have for you today. So we have market overview. I think it's time to get a little bit more aggressive on the long side. Leading sectors, we're talking about semiconductors, technology in general, semiconductors, software, robotics, and artificial intelligence. Gave you a whole bunch of names. I didn't even count how many were on there for idea generation. Again, if you liked one, that's the whole point of idea generation, right? Is which ones do you like, not the ones I like. And then the AI theme. and the names involved in that I think that are that makes sense, that give good risk management, right? Because if the name is too speculative, it's too hard to manage risk, in my opinion, and be involved in that particular theme. All right, so that's what we got for you. I'll be doing my focus list video in a little bit, 5 to 10 minute long video, and that will give you just a few actionable ideas and ETFs for the week. Hope you all are doing well. If you're not a super follower yet, consider becoming one. Go to my profile at AlphaCharts365 on Twitter, click subscribe, and go from there. Okay. Thank you all very much. Have a great afternoon and a good week.